thank you to our sponsor, MBA Growth Partners.
Welcome to Studio 501c3. I'm your host, Kim Jones, CEO of the nonprofit Village, which provides shared space and capacity building programs for charitable organizations. The show features nonprofits that provide essential programs and services, and they're charities that the IRS designates as 501c3 because they have provided a public benefit. In most cases, your donations to these nonprofits are tax deductible. We're also a proud partner of Montgomery Community Media, your public access resource that provides a variety of information and programs relevant to Montgomery County. Today, I'm talking with Ludley Howard, the founder and CEO of Pride Youth Services. Their mission is to improve the social, emotional, and physical development of African American youth. Ludley, thanks for being on the show.
Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great. So now, I know you. I've heard you talk about the program. I know your program, and I've heard you say a lot of times that the work your team does really transforms the lives of Black teens. So tell us about Pride and the ways you're empowering them to overcome obstacles.
Sure. Pride Youth Services was started back in 2001, in which, once again, our mission is to work with African American youth to help them reach their fullest potential, regardless of what they want to pursue. And one of our quotes that kind of sets the foundation for everything we do is by Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, who was president of Morehouse College. And the quote goes as follows: "It's not your environment, it is you, the quality of your mind, the integrity of your soul, and the determination of your will that will decide your future and shape your lives." So all of our youth development programming that we do and working with our young people is to let them know that despite your environment, or despite the circumstances that you face, you can still be successful. So that's what we tend to do with our various youth development programs. In terms of my background, I'm a clinical social worker, since here in the state of Maryland, as well as DC, as well as the state of Pennsylvania. And we provide a variety of programs. We have programs specifically for our young men, one of which being our Adolescent Male Empowerment Network, or AMEN for short, and our sister program to that, which is AFFIRM, which stands for Adolescent Female Forum to Inspire, Respect, and Motivate.
Okay.
And development programs really work around self-esteem issues, resiliency skills, training program, and just the way to help our young people begin to value themselves and to value each other, not only themselves.
And I want to know a little bit more about how your programs are developed, but I actually have a question because you talked about the program with young men versus young women. What do you have to consider, or what goes into the development of a curriculum for young men versus young women?
Well, one of the things we've been fortunate to do is we have actual focus groups with a group of teen males as well as teen females. And we kind of ask them, what are you currently dealing with? What are the challenges that you're going through? And we based our various discussions around those things that are of interest to them. So a lot of our program very much takes into account their input or our youth voices, which I think is very important because they know more of what's important to them than we do as the adults.
Sure.
So really incorporate a lot of their suggestions and feedback into everything we do. So that's how we come up with our curriculum. It changes from year to year based upon what the needs are at that given time. And so
it is really dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so as their needs change, your curriculum changes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right. Can you give me, I think you had mentioned, or I'd read on your website about also parent support, community resources that you're able to offer. Can you give an example of a couple of those?
Absolutely. One of the things I think is challenging for parents is being a parent of a teenager. one of the things we like to offer is what we call parent support groups. And in those groups, we really work with parents in terms of how do you begin to develop a different relationship with your teens? Because I think the relationship clearly changes from when they were just toddlers to now becoming into themselves and young adults. So we talk to parents about how to establish better communication with kids and how to keep those lines of communication open, which I think is critical
Mhm.
at the time of development for our young people. So we kind of work with parents around those issues, how to better connect and how to be more involved and attuned to what's going on with their.
So, will you meet with, if you're doing something with parents versus the teens, do you meet with them as frequently when you're going through a program with them?
It varies. Usually, sometimes in programming in the past, we have had monthly parent groups
Mhm.
and we've had work with just along with the parents. Or sometimes, once again, we might have it where it's joint parents as well as the teens themselves and kind of have a discussion around something that, once again, is important to both of them in terms of their relationships and that. So, once again, we're pretty flexible in our approach, once again, based upon what the interests might be or in what ways we can support them.
And the teens that you're working with, so 13 to 18, 13 to 19, is that pretty much?
Right. Pretty much 13 to 18. So we
Okay.
work within that age group. So high school age, older middle school age.
Okay. All right. All right. Good. Listen, we need to take a brief break, but when we come back, we're going to hear more about the powerful programs provided by Pride Youth Services. Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media. We'll be right back.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Can I get the now bar, please?
$1.
Have a good one.
Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Hey, let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. This is a serious problem, but one we can solve. Visit feedingamerica.org to help. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're feeding America.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Welcome back to Studio 501c3, your window into nonprofit programs in Montgomery County. I'm talking with Ludley Howard, the founder and CEO of Pride Youth Services. So I want to go back to something that you had talked about at the beginning in terms of your background. What was the real impetus that caused you to found and start Pride Youth Services? What was there one thing? Or was it over time you just developed, this idea that I think this is how we can help? And tell us about the team that you have.
Sure. When I thought about Pride Youth Services, what I wanted to do is in the title Pride. So I wanted to give our young people, particularly our African American youth, a sense of pride about themselves, in their cultural background, in their experiences. And I specifically have a passion in working with teenagers because unfortunately, I think a lot of people kind of give up on teenagers. So at times when I say our program is specifically for teens, they're like, well, why are you working with teenagers? That's a little too old. Why don't you work with the elementary school kids or the middle school kids while you still have, quote unquote, a chance to reach them? So I used to always be very upset or defensive about that. So you mean to tell me the life of a 16-year-old is over or 17-year-old? So I really wanted to create programs that really validated them and reached out specifically to them to help them with their challenges and to look at and help them identify their strengths. So coming very much from a strength-based approach.
Okay. And then how do you get connected with the youth? How do they find you? How do their families find you? How does that connection happen?
It happens in a variety of ways. When we first started our program, we worked very much with young people involved with the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services. And since that time, it's kind of spread out to also work with kids within high schools. So we're currently working in Montgomery County at the Crossroads Youth Opportunity Center.
Okay.
So work with the kids there. But we've also been fortunate enough to expand our services. So for the past 5 years, we've had an office in Philadelphia in which we work with the most challenging high schools in the Philadelphia area. And then 3 years ago, we opened up an office in Baltimore in which we work with 5 area high schools within the Baltimore city area. So it's really just reaching out to schools or various community organizations, just to kind of let them know what we are and what we do. And this is how we can be of some support.
Okay. And other partnerships in the community? Who are some of your other partners?
We work closely with Identity, Inc. So we currently put them at the Crossroads Youth Opportunity Center. Once again, in the past, we had partnerships with the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services, as well as the Montgomery County Rec Center, as well as various schools. Such as, Wheaton High School, Albert Einstein. So once again, just continuing to develop those community partnerships as we can.
And thank you for that. And I know that as a nonprofit, I run a nonprofit also, we're all always concerned about our funding. When you get donations in, how do you target those donations? So people that might go to your website, which we're going to put up on screen for you, but when they see that and want to make a donation or want to volunteer, are there ways to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. We use our donations for various things. So sometimes we work with families who could use some additional support in terms of whether that's financially or otherwise. So we use donations for that or to expand our current programming so we can accommodate more students. Another thing that we're in the process of actively looking for are board members.
Okay.
So looking for people who have that same passion in terms of working with youth, particularly African American youth. So we're always recruiting qualified individuals who have that same passion that we have in terms.
Well, on that, we're going to try to talk a little bit off screen. We're actually, Ludley, we're out of time, but this has been a great insight into the services available to African American teens and their families. And I just want to thank you for being with us to share the resources that you offer with the viewers and all the services that you're offering to these families.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity once again to talk to you.
For more information on Pride Youth Services, visit their website at prideyouthservices.org. I'm Kim Jones, and thanks for joining us today. We'll see you on the next edition of Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media.